I am smiling. Do you know what that means? It means that today I am flying to LaGuardia Airport. I cannot remember the last time I flew to LaGuardia Airport. It has been a long time. I'm at the Palm Beach International Airport and I am just so excited about my flight to LaGuardia today. I can't wait. I can't help but starting my journey by looking at departures off of runway 10 left. I will be in that airspace really soon. I'm observing the climb out closely in anticipation of my turn. This climb takes planes out over the Atlantic Ocean. I love it, but I need to get to my gate, so let's head inside the airline terminal where my flight to LaGuardia will leave from. I am so excited. Well, that's a familiar sight for this channel, a Moxie or Breeze A220. I've made the change today. I'm flying to LaGuardia on Delta, but I'm used to flying those recently. This is a view I've been getting at the Vero Beach Airport recently, but it's nice to be back on Delta today. So lately I've been flying on those Breeze A220s. You know, I specifically need to fly regularly between Vero Beach and New York City, and Breeze provides that point-to-point service. However, they have had a lot of delays recently, so I'm trying Delta again this time. I shouldn't say trying because I do have status with Delta as a Platinum Medallion, but I just have not been flying Delta a lot recently because of this convenience service that Breeze has been providing. But the delays have gotten kind of out of hand recently. Almost all the flights are delayed that me or my dad actually take. Oh, here's the Delta Sky Club. I used to actually go there, but I'm not invited anymore because I lost my diamond status, which provided that level of service to get into the Sky Club, and I don't have a credit card that lets me in. Decisions on who to fly these days. Another reason to be flying on Delta is because this flight, like all my flights, brings me closer to million miler status, which is coming up in a few 10,000 miles from now. So it helps. Then I'll have gold status for life. Delays are inevitable. I've had so many delays on Breeze, and I've got a delay on Delta now. So my flight Delta 2460 is delayed tonight, and it's delayed because the outbound flight from LaGuardia, which was also Delta 2460, had a delay. And the reason why it was delayed is because as it was leaving and taxiing out to the runway, well, the white intersection was shut down, so it actually had to get in the back of the line and come back around again. That caused a delay. Yeah, I've made it to Charlie 2, and 2460 inbound is about to pull into the gate. Let's watch. There it is. It's the tail of Delta 2460, a Boeing 737. I don't know about you, but the fact that this plane just came from New York and had its wheels rolling on a runway at LaGuardia really excites me. What excites me even more is that it's going back to LaGuardia with me on board. Today's airplane is a 7-year-old 737-900ER that was delivered directly to Delta after its production in Renton. All right, that's Delta 2460 behind me at the gate, and my seat is actually going to be on the right side of the aircraft. Now, I strategically choose seats on appropriate sides of the aircraft based upon wind. However, I actually just made this reservation yesterday, so only seats were available on the right-hand side. Let's see what happens. LaGuardia is currently landing runway 22 with left traffic. Hopefully they do right traffic so we get that great New York City view. We'll see. A lot of airport action over here. You've got that Avelo flight that just pushed back going to New Haven, and here's a Delta A321. I'm happy I'm not on the A321 today due to the smaller size of the windows. I'm really looking forward to that 737. With right traffic to runway 22, arrivals from the south fly northbound up the Hudson, which means great Manhattan views for right side passengers. I'm so drawn to that view. With left traffic, Manhattan will be on the left side of the plane. For now, I'm enjoying the window seat view here from the terminal in PPI. Yes, I was the only person looking out. It's free and entertaining. I saw some people with their eyes closed. No comment. I just can't wait to get on board. But before we board this 737, it's time for a message from the sponsor of today's video, Yesol. With all the traveling I do, I find myself just sitting for hours on an airplane, and I need a way to make up for that. So I use my Yesol G1M Plus for a regular cardio workout. A breeze to put together, and at a great price point, this is the best stationary bike I've ever had. With so much time spent sitting, this is a great fit for my lifestyle, and using it doesn't take me away from what I need to do. It's all about fun cardio, as this bike features wired multimedia casting, making a typical cardio workout transformed into something enjoyable. I mean, who doesn't enjoy watching Peter Masella's YouTube channel while working out? I know I certainly watch my channel all the time, even when I'm not working out, because the screen rotates 360 degrees, so I can watch the screen when not sitting on the bike. I love having an additional screen in my home in a place where I normally would not have one. What a great feature! Working out and enjoyment go hand in hand with YesSoul. As a traveler, I love this feature, which allows me to feel like I'm biking abroad. And when I want to take things very seriously, I just tune into instructor-led courses. I always leave it to the pros to tell me what to do. I'm an expert as an airline passenger, but I'm not an expert trainer. And statistics are always available to me. These are some fantastic metrics that provide me with the right information at the right time. And I'm not the only one who uses YesSoul.
Hey, this is Peter Sr. here. I'm using YesSoul on a regular basis, and let me tell you, it's working wonders for me as well.
That's right, my dad loves using this product. After all, he also sits on airplanes a lot and needs the cardio workout. I've caught him using my YesSoul bike on multiple occasions. He's especially fond of the 4-speaker system and 2 subwoofers for exceptional sound quality. As a viewer of this channel, you can take advantage of my discount code in the description below. It's exceptionally affordable. Imagine watching Netflix or the news or airplane videos while biking or at any angle. What a deal this is. That's right, you heard it. You can get a great discount with my code. You just gotta do it. But for now, let's return to today's video. I can't wait to board, even though it's delayed. So as my luck would have it, the Breeze flight out of Vero Beach is actually right on time today. I just checked, and the Delta flight's delayed 25 minutes. Really not a big deal, but again, one of the reasons why I'm here is to continue flying on Delta to get to that million-miler status, which is going to be, I'm not really sure when it's going to be, because these flights that I'm taking are pretty short, and it's a couple of 10,000 miles I do need to take, but it is what it is. We may be delayed, but the time has now come for boarding. All right, it's time to head over to LaGuardia. Nope, not sitting there. Why pay so much money for a window when almost every window seat has a window? I'm in the back today. This is my view. I don't care about the kind of seat. Just having a window is what I need. However, with the current wind conditions at LaGuardia, the Manhattan view will be on the left side of the plane. There's nothing I can do about that since every seat on this plane is taken. Let's get to the runway. I'll provide ATC comms in a bit. Now, while I'm concerned about missing the Manhattan view, I'm in for a pleasant surprise. If you watch my channel, you know that I've flown this route many times. Each time I fly it, I've taken off on the same runway 10 left. Yes, that will happen again today, but something special will occur after takeoff. For the first time for me, tonight, we'll be flying a land route, which means that after our initial climb over the ocean, we'll be turning to fly back over the land via a left-hand turn and continue the climb over the land instead of the water. I've flown over the water so many times. This means a great view of the shoreline for passengers on the right side of the plane. That's me.
Delta 2460, runway 10 left, clear for takeoff.
Go for takeoff 10 left, Delta 2460.
American 2427, runway 10 left, clear to land. Section 469, we're Joe Sam Lab. Victor 410, Southern Tower, caution, my turbulence, following an Airbus 321, runway 10 left, clear to land. Land on your left, section 469.
As we climb, the controller that issued us takeoff clearance in the tower hands us off to the Palm Beach departure controller.
Delta 2460, connect departure, good night.
Departure Delta 2460, good night.
It's so nice to be airborne as we climb straight out toward the Atlantic. Let's check in with departure control. Apologies for the poor transmission for the pilot in advance as she announces that she's on the frequency.
Departure Delta 2460, 1500, climbing via 246.
Delta 2460, departure radar contact.
The controller simply said radar contact, meaning that he sees the plane on radar. There actually won't be any more transmissions to this flight until the handoff to the next controller, since the pilot will follow the departure procedure. Today it calls for flying straight out over the ocean, and then shortly after that there will be a series of left-hand turns that are going to be made inland so that we can join a land route today up the East Coast. Typically at this point I try to take in all of the land views that I can because I've always flown a water route, but we'll be over the land for the majority of this flight. In the background, you can hear the controller talking to other pilots on the frequency. He's handling both arrivals and departures in the area, and not all of them are going to or from PBI. Here comes the start of the left-hand turn to head inland. Let me tell you, by this point, I knew it was going to happen, but in a way, I almost felt surprised because I was so used to flying straight out. Tonight there will definitely be advantage to flying a route over the water. We will see a lot more, but if we were to fly out on a water route, we'd actually get a view of another country as we head northeast toward New York. That's right, the water route allows you to see some of the islands of the northern Bahamas, which are not too far off the Florida coast. It's always a treat to see another country when on a domestic flight, but I'm really excited about what I'll see this time in the USA. The plan is to head west for several miles, then turn right to the north and parallel the coast up toward Jacksonville. There's not much to see here, so let's move forward to landfall as we complete the U-turn around. It sure is nice to see the land down there. We're just a few miles north of Palm Beach Airport and are about to enter the airspace of the Miami Air Route Traffic Control Center. Let's get that handoff.
Delta 2460, contact Miami Center 135.17.
3517, Delta 2460 here.
The Miami Center controller will provide clearances to higher altitudes, but for this video, I won't be providing those transmissions, but I will pick up ATC when we get to New York. Down there, we're looking at the town of Juno Beach, Florida. If you watch any of my arrival videos to PBI, you'll see that quite often we'll fly over Juno Beach as well. However, arrivals to PBI are kept at a lower altitude so they don't interfere with departures from PBI. Specifically, I'm talking about arrivals from the north bound for runway 10 left that need to head inland for a left traffic pattern to the runway. Basically, what you see here is performed in the opposite direction at a lower altitude for arrivals. It's time to start working our way north over the Florida Peninsula on its eastern side as the Miami Air Route Traffic Control Center climbs us higher and higher. We're looking at the Stewart and Port St. Lucie area here. Stewart is located in the county just north of Palm Beach County, and Port St. Lucie is in the county just north of that. Over 17,000 people call Stewart home, and over 200,000 reside in Port St. Lucie. Following Port St. Lucie is the city of Fort Pierce, with a population of just over 47,000. That's followed by Vero Beach in Indian River County. Vero Beach is where many of my recent flight videos have started or ended, as the airport down there is where I've been flying on Breeze. The dark area is the airport, and yes, there will be more Breeze videos on this channel. Sprawling Melbourne, Florida is up next. I've flown into Melbourne on this channel before on a Boeing 717. The airport down there has some interesting routes like Melbourne to Newcastle upon Tyne in England. How do you spot an airport at night? Look for the dark areas. Those are the taxiways and runways. Following Melbourne, we have entered the Space Coast of Florida, and here we can see Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral. If only there were a rocket launch right now. I'm on the right side of the plane for it, and that would have been an amazing sight to see from up here. We've now entered the airspace of the Jacksonville Air Route Traffic Control Center, and down there is Daytona Beach, home of the Daytona International Speedway, and right next to it is the Daytona Beach International Airport. I have many videos of flights into and out of this airport right here on this channel. On the screen in front of me, you can see the route that we've taken so far. We're now in Flagler County, and down there is Palm Coast, Florida, home to just under 100,000 people. We then took it out over the beach, so I was unable to see Jacksonville before we entered the state of Georgia. I didn't see land again until we were on the South Carolina coast. This is a great view of the Charleston area. Out there in the distance is Myrtle Beach. We're near Lumberton, North Carolina here, and it's around here where flights from Florida that took off on the water route start to join the land for the remainder of their flights to New York. We're a bit further west than those flights, and here we have a great view of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Here we are looking at Delaware Bay between Delaware and New Jersey. Once in New Jersey, the nose of the plane is pointed toward Monmouth County on the proud arrival procedure to LaGuardia. Along the way, we see Atlantic City near the ocean and McGuire Air Force Base. After talking to many center controllers and descending, it's time to check in with New York Approach Control. Unfortunately, I was only able to get the controller's audio here. Here, the controller is telling us to keep the speed at 300 knots.
2460, New York approach, number 3018, maintain 300 knots.
We're descending to 10,000 feet here and are simply following a northeastward bound path toward LaGuardia Airport. We'll get to everything in real time in a moment, but for now we'll speed up the areas between ATC with this flight. The next command is to reduce speed to 250 knots and then descend and maintain 8,000 feet.
2460, you can slow to 250 now, then maintain 8,000.
Shortly after that, we're told to reduce our speed to 210 knots.
2460, reduce speed to 210.
After that, we're told to proceed directly to LaGuardia, which means to proceed to a navigational aid at the airport next to runway 22 and descend to 4,000 feet.
2460, direct LaGuardia, maintain 4,000.
Well, it's time for the best part, the approach into New York City. The bright lights are up ahead, and I cannot wait. But I'm disappointed I could not score a seat on the left side of the plane, as the borough of Manhattan will be on that side. When runway 31 is the departure runway, arrivals to runway 22 will pass over Brooklyn, Queens, and east of the airport before turning left over the Sound to swing around to runway 22. When runway 13 is the departure runway 22 arrivals typically fly up the Hudson, and Manhattan is on the right-hand side of the plane before going into the Bronx and Westchester, then turning right to swing around to runway 22. Today, runway 31 is the departure runway, so it's a left traffic pattern. Here's Coney Island in Brooklyn. Our nose is pointed directly at LaGuardia Airport, almost as if we're going to land straight into runway 4, but we're too high for that and need to land on the same runway in the opposite direction, so we'll be making some turns around the airport to get there. For now, we get to take in some beautiful nighttime sights of Brooklyn. Most of the borough is visible from this side of the plane. Over 2.6 million people live down there in Brooklyn. That's a lot. The controller is going to have us gradually start to break off this heading so we can fly east of LaGuardia. Here comes a command to turn 10 degrees to the right and to hurry up on down to our last assigned altitude of 4,000 feet.
2460, turn 10 degrees right, expedite down to 4.
A right turn is a nice turn when you're on the right side of the plane, but 10 degrees isn't much. I'm anticipating just one more turn to the right to get east of LaGuardia before we're issued left turns to get back around to runway 22. With this right turn, we are no longer pointed directly at LaGuardia, but it's definitely in sight from the cockpit slightly off to the left. The flight deck crew is basically able to see the airport the entire time from here all the way down to touchdown, although it may be a little bit tough to see when we get northeast of the airport. I wish I had the opportunity to sit in the cockpit to see the airport. We've got a great view of Jamaica Bay out there. It's the dark area just under the wing. The narrow strip of land is part of Queens. It's the Rockaways, and it extends south below Brooklyn, forming the southernmost part on Long Island. The area furthest away in this frame is Nassau County in Long Island. Once we get to our downwind leg, we'll overfly a part of Nassau County. By the way, the air traffic controller that's handling this flight is located in Nassau County. He's in the New York TRACON, which handles arrivals to many airports, including JFK and LaGuardia. TRACON stands for Terminal Radar Approach Control, and most recently, the TRACON in Philadelphia has been in the news as Newark Approach Control has been transferred to the Philadelphia TRACON, and unfortunately, they've had some radar issues, but the controllers are trained well to work without radar to get planes safely to where they need to go. If you haven't done so already, check out the video I posted before this one. It talks all about aviation safety. We're about to get a turn to the east, and I have spotted Kennedy Airport down there, and I'm going to zoom in. It is a great view of the terminals and a fantastic view right down runway 13 left.
2460, fighting 070, plan on a visual approach.
That JFK view almost made me forget that we need to make a right-hand turn to get ready for our left downwind leg to runway 22. While I'm taking in the view of JFK, passengers on the left side of the plane are taking in the greatest views of Manhattan, just a few miles away. I'm often asked which side of the plane you should sit on when flying to LaGuardia. By default, I pick the right side because if you fly up the Hudson for a runway 22 approach from the west with right traffic, Manhattan is immediately outside your window. It's actually better than this approach, but I still would have loved a seat on the left-hand side of the plane. Too bad nothing was available at all in my cabin. Sometimes the last row is blocked, and I'll often ask the gate agent for a seat back there if it's on the correct side of the plane, but today, every seat was taken. That's fine, because I'm enjoying the view of the New York City borough of Queens, our destination borough. Home to LaGuardia and JFK, we're over Queens now, and we'll exit Queens in a moment, then we'll enter Nassau and the Bronx, and then re-enter Queens a few seconds before we land on runway 22. So on this flight, we get to see every borough except Manhattan and Staten Island, although once we land on runway 22 and clear the runway to the left, we will be able to see Manhattan's tallest buildings from the ground. It's now time to begin the downwind leg, which will call for a left-hand turn to 40 degrees, which is 180 degrees in the opposite direction of the landing direction of 220 degrees.
2460, turn left wing 040.
The controller is going to have us descend to 3,000 feet and reduce our speed even further so we can be sequenced properly behind the arrivals ahead of us.
2460, send to maintain 3000, then reduce speed to 180.
Again, I think the left side provides the best view here because just off our left and down low is LaGuardia Airport, and passengers on the left side have a great view down runway 31. Runway 31 is the departure runway, and when planes are given takeoff clearance on runway 31, they climb in airspace west of LaGuardia, which is why we're currently east of LaGuardia. Our position allows departures to climb with no conflict with descending arrivals like us. Runway 31 and runway 22 were selected this evening because the wind provides a headwind for both runways. If the wind had just shifted a little bit to make runway 13 the departure runway, planes would be climbing in the airspace that we're in now. And at this moment, we would be looking at Upper Manhattan and the Bronx if seated on the right side. The Bronx is currently on the left side of the plane, and we'll be making a left turn circling around Long Island Sound, so we will get to see the Bronx from this side in a few moments. For now, we take in views of Long Island as our 40-degree heading sends us along the north shore of Long Island in Nassau County. The big question that's always on my mind at this point is how far out will we go before we turn to the left for the U-turn to runway 22? It always varies and is completely dependent on how many planes there are ahead of us. Many planes just flew what we flew and are turned to the left by the controllers so that there's enough space between them for landing. But not all planes are coming from where we came from. There are some flights that are already established on a straight approach to runway 22. These are aircraft coming in from northern or eastern origins like Toronto or Boston. Since they're straight in, flights like ours need to be sequenced between gaps of those arrivals. But since most of the USA is to the west and south of LaGuardia, there really aren't many arrivals coming straight in. We were already told to descend to 3,000 feet and reduce our speed to 180 knots, which is a good setup for the final approach, so I don't think we'll go out too far, and the controller told us that we can expect a visual approach to runway 22. We're flying by Sands Point at the north end of Cow Neck Peninsula in North Hempstead, Long Island. Okay, the time has come for the left base leg where we'll turn to the west.
Delta 2460, turn left heading 280, maintain 2000.
280 degrees points us 10 degrees north of west, and we're cleared down to the low altitude of 2,000 feet. With this heading, we'll be crossing the Long Island Sound from the Long Island side to the mainland side. LaGuardia is just off to the left, and remember, we've been told to expect a visual approach to runway 22, which means that soon the controller will ask the pilot if she has the airport in sight. When she reports that she does, she'll be cleared for a visual approach to the runway, and we'll switch to the control tower frequency at the airport itself. The pilot can also use the ILS system for guidance, but it's basically looking out the window at the runway ahead. The controller will now issue a final heading of 270 degrees and ask if she can see the airport.
2460, fighting 270, let me know when you see LaGuardia.
Now, we can't hear her response, but she does say that she has the airport in sight. The controller clears for a visual approach to runway 22 and switches her over to the control tower at the airport.
2460, clear visual 22, contact tower 187, so long.
We're looking at New Rochelle in Westchester County along its shoreline on the Long Island Sound. The cluster of lights that you see under the wing is the downtown area of New Rochelle. We'll be turning left directly toward the runway without entering Westchester County. We're in the Bronx now, and we'll be able to see nearly all of it from its border with Westchester to Queens. It's time for the check-in with the tower, and finally on this frequency we can hear a pilot talking.
Tower Delta 2460, visual on 22.
460, hello, number 2, total land, wind 3603.
Clear land 22, Delta 2460.
We're number 2 for landing and are clear to land on runway 22. The wind is interesting. It's 360 at 3, meaning it's coming from due north at 3 knots. Due north winds would be ideal for landing on runway 4 or 31 because that would lead to a headwind, but with the winds only at 3 knots, it's likely not going to affect us despite it being a tailwind. Sometimes it's just too much work to make a runway change, so the airport just keeps doing what they've been doing if the wind is light. The dark area down there is Pelham Bay Park. The flight deck crew is making the final visual turn toward the runway so that it's straight in front of us. The crew can also slow down further. Passengers seated on the left side of the plane can see the path we just took, and by looking down they can see City Island, an island of the Bronx in Long Island Sound. Here in the foreground, we can see the massive buildings of Co-op City in the eastern Bronx, and on the left is the intersection of Pelham Parkway and Interstate 95. Like we just flew, I-95 runs all the way down to Florida. We're still directly over a portion of Pelham Bay Park, and in a moment we'll be directly over the Country Club and Pelham Bay sections of the Bronx. Runway 22 is approximately 4 miles ahead. We can see the lights of the train stations for the number 6 elevated train which terminates near here, and under the wing is a train yard for the Metropolitan Transit Authority of New York City. It's their Westchester yard and maintenance facility. Westchester references an area of the Bronx, not Westchester County, which we briefly saw as we turn around for runway 22. Down by the parkway down there, the Hutchinson River Parkway, is a small creek, Westchester Creek, and we'll be following the path of this creek to its mouth at the East River, and then we'll be on runway 22. We're flying over one of the biggest interchanges in the Bronx, where roads like I-95, the Hutch, and the Bruckner all meet. It's a complex set of roads, and just past that we see Castle Hill, a neighborhood just north of the East River. We'll be over the East River soon. Runway 22 is all clear for us. The previous traffic has landed, making way for us. Behind us is another airplane that will land after us, and once we slow down, we need to vacate the runway to the left quickly to prevent the next plane from going around. Once we're slow enough to vacate, the tower controller will tell us to turn left and take taxiways Bravo, Kilo, and Alpha to get to the Delta ramp without having to talk to a separate ground controller tonight. Traffic is light. Let's land on runway 22 after taking the land route from Florida to LaGuardia.
Delta 2460, left turn, Bravo to the ramp. It'll be Bravo Kilo Alpha for you.
Bravo Kilo Alpha, Delta 2460.
What a great flight that was, as always, and I'm glad I didn't sit over there. There's no window over there. I'm back at LaGuardia. It's so exciting. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this flight from PBI to LGA. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. Remember that I will be flying again soon, so if you haven't done so already, make sure you click on that subscribe button below so you don't miss out on my next video. Thanks, everybody.